So a couple weeks ago, we had the Juno cinematic come out, and it was awful. This is almost 5 minutes of a character in one setting trying to kick a rock. Overwatch 2 has lost the plot. Before Overwatch 2's announcement, almost every single element of the lore was building towards what would have been the PvE. But because of the fact that the PvE was canceled, realistically, we should expect these cinematics to now be taking the place of furthering the story. Because, well, the entire buildup of getting the band back together, that's done. They did that. Overwatch reunified. Overwatch is operating again. And we're not gonna get more story missions, so where the fuck is the cinematic or story progression? So for this week's Meaty Monday, let's go on a trip down memory lane. We're gonna go over every single Overwatch cinematic or trailer and show just how much they've fallen. From emotional, beautifully animated cinematics that would be compared to Pixar, to glorified shop advertisements.
Monsieur, does this mean Overwatch is back?
No.
This is how Overwatch 2 lost the plot. On November 7th, 2014, we got our first Overwatch cinematic. And I mean, I don't need to tell you why this is great, right? Introduces us to a handful of characters, the lore, and got people so insanely hyped. Then between March and November, we had 7 cinematics drop. Recall, Alive, Are You With Us, Dragons, Hero, and The Last Bastion. And I want you to think about the cultural impact each one of these shorts has had on the broader Overwatch community. Sure, some of these are better than others, but across the board, they are all insanely high quality. They all built so much hype. You were excited to see what character would get a cinematic next. Would it be a new character, an old character? Where was their story going? I'm pretty sure that the Dragon short is solely responsible for all of the Genji and Hanzo mains to this day. The memes that came out of these were insane. They were a cultural touchstone of the Overwatch community. And without them, I don't think Overwatch would be in the place it is today. But I don't even need to say that, because if we look at the releases from Overwatch 2 post its launch and announcement, we can see a sharp decline in the quantity and quality of these cinematics. Obviously, we have Zero Hour, which is one of the best cinematics of all time. But for the launch year of Overwatch 2, we got a short for Junker Queen, a short for Kiriko, and a short for Sojourn. Those were all of the cinematics for the first year of Overwatch 2. The next cinematic we got was the Le Seraphim cinematic. Yes, that's right. Post PvE drop, all that we got in traditional Overwatch 2 cinematics was a music video. We got an animated short for Mauga. That was pretty good. Then the next animated short was for Cowboy Bebop collab. We got a venture animation that shows that the budget is really running out. Then we got a Porsche collab trailer. The next cinematic, bet you can't guess it, Transformers trailer. And finally, we end up on the Juno trailer. I don't think I need to explain why this is some bullshit. Over half of the stuff we've gotten for Overwatch 2 has been trailers for collabs. There is no story progression. The few cinematics we get feel like Overwatch 1 cinematics, but not in a good way, because they're retreading the same ground. A stranded scientist trying to make it back to help save untold lives, but is set back from a malfunction and needs to become sure of herself to do that. Are you fucking kidding me? That's just the Mei cinematic. Dude, what the fuck? The Mauga one is the closest thing we've gotten to like actually progressing the story, and I'm fine with the Junker Queen and the Kiriko ones, hell, even the Sojourn one, because it's giving backstory to a character that we haven't gotten backstory for yet, which is cool, who's a key part of the lore, which means they're important. But be honest with me, are you replaying these cinematics? Are you going back and watching them? Or are you watching Dragons for the 100th time? Let's go over why all of those old cinematics were so good. And I think you'll understand better what my point of this video is. The soul of these cinematics has been sapped dry of them. And that's not even talking about the ones that, you know, are just advertisements. In the Recall cinematic, we get introduced to Winston and Athena, the state of the world, and we even get a fun action scene as well. And the quote that basically defined Overwatch for its earlier years.
Never accept the world as it appears to be. Dare to see it for what it could be.
See, these weren't just normal cinematics for a game to get you hyped. They were moving, they were emotional, they were exciting, they were nothing we had ever seen before. They all had this weight and gravitas to them. They had this soulful energy of optimism, especially in the first year of Overwatch. In 2017, we got the Doomfist cinematic, a Junkrat cinematic, the Mei cinematic, the Reinhardt cinematic. Like, this is some peak shit we're getting here. In the second year of this, we got basically the same number of cinematics as Overwatch 2 has had in its entire lifespan. And mind you, this is all with the excuse they can't actually progress the story forwards because they're working on PvE in the back end at this point. They're just trying to get people to the starting line. In 2018, we got the D.Va cinematic, the Cash cinematic, and this was when stuff was really starting to slow down. And then we got a video that was recapping the story so far. So let's watch it and see how much has actually changed from this point to where we're at now.
30 years ago, the Omnics declared war. Overwatch was created to rescue humanity from the Omnic crisis. We became the greatest champions of peace and progress mankind has ever seen.
Everybody knows Overwatch got shut down. Half of them are just mercenaries now.
The people decided they were better off without us. They even called us criminals. They tore our family apart.
Papa told me, after so many years of service, you gave Overwatch everything, and then they pushed you out.
Real life is not like the stories our father told us. You were a fool for believing it so.
Perhaps I am a fool to think there is still hope for you, brother.
Human, machine. Before me, I see the future. Humans and Omnics standing together.
The second Omnic crisis continues. The conflict between Omnics and humans has now claimed over 15,000 lives.
But look around. Someone has to do something. We have to do something.
Always remember, never accept the world as it appears to be. Dare to see it for what it could be.
Winston? It's been too long!
What is this? This is broadcasting on the Overwatch emergency frequency.
I got a call. They're getting the band back together. They want me, but really, they need you.
I have been called. I must answer. Always.
The enemy is out there and getting stronger.
The world is changing once again, and it's time to pick a side.
We can make a difference again. The world needs us now, more than ever. Are you with me?
Yes, Winston. I am with you.
And then we got the 0 hour cinematic. You're telling me that you don't get chills when this scene happens? Or that the music in this scene doesn't bring a fucking tear to your eye?
Tracer, get everyone out of here. I'll hold the line.
But you said to stick together.
Don't worry. I'll be right behind you.
You'd better be.
Or that you didn't lose your shit when you saw Genji. Or Reinhardt. I don't really think anyone did for Echo, but that's okay. And Mercy actually showing up in a cinematic for the first actual time. Now, I'm not saying that literally every animation has to be this quality. I'm not that level of delusion, but we should have at least had something this exciting or near this exciting to come out within the last 6 fucking years. That's right, it's been 6 years since this came out. And how have the cinematics progressed? Well, there's still what Overwatch 1 cinematics were. Light character backstory, introducing a new character, and it's like, yeah, cool. Anyways, we've been there, we've done that. Unless a character has a truly awe-inspiring backstory, I don't want it to be more than flashbacks in present-day cinematics. I want to see the story progress, not stay in the same spot it's been for almost 10 years now. Correction, it's been in this spot for 10 years. That first cinematic was from 2014. But you know, that was enough to make me a little bit tilted this time last year. We haven't even gotten into the meat of what my problem with these cinematics is nowadays. They aren't even that. Sure, the one-off time they get a third-rate extra animation studio to make one of these cinematics because they fired their in-house team, they're usually half decent. But the other 90% of the time, they're blowing all their budget on advertisements. Now, there are going to be a ton of people that are going to say it's not fair to compare these ads with the cinematics we used to get. All I'm going to say in return to that is I've seen considerably fewer cinematics ever since Blizzard started putting cinematic dev teams on ads. I would guarantee these make more return on investment than the cinematics did for Overwatch. But what these and even a lot of the Overwatch 2 cinematics are lacking is the soul that made people come back to this game. Without cinematics progressing the story forward, a TV show, or the PvE, Overwatch is in a stagnant spot. There is no room to progress the story. I don't fucking care if there are comic books or short stories about these characters that progress the lore. I want what was promised by the original game. When you make an entire game where the core selling point, when you AFK on the main menu in Overwatch 1, Winston starts telling you it's time to get the gang back together to go do Overwatch stuff. And Overwatch 2's main selling point is we got the gang back together to do Overwatch stuff. I expect you to follow through with that in some way. If the PvE is canceled, whatever. I've made up my mind on that and it cannot disappoint me further. But that doesn't mean the entire story has to grind to a halt. That doesn't mean we need to reset the clock back to Overwatch 1 progression. We don't need to act like nothing changed and only blow our load of money to make fucking advertisements for Porsche and Hasbro. I'm so sick and tired of this shit. It's disgusting. Seeing them put more effort into a $50 skin bundle than they have for the main story of their game in the past year is morally repugnant. It is the most dystopian late-stage capitalism shit I've seen on a game that was made originally by Activision with loot boxes. The very artistic vision and soul of this game has been ground down into a firm paste for what makes the most money for Big Daddy Activision and now Big Daddy Microsoft. It's fucked up and it's disgusting. And I'm sick and tired of watching these content creators act like this is something we should be excited about.
Ooh, as usual, chat, as usual, I'll buy the skins. I really like this, like the way that they introduced all these skins. I like that.
When you go back to scroll through and find all the old Overwatch animations, you don't see any fucking collab trailers. You don't see any skin advertisements. Everything about Overwatch is just about battle passes and skins nowadays. It's fucked up to say I miss when it was about gambling, but I mean, that was better than this. And the most disappointing part of all this to me is if you understand how budgets for this stuff work, you know that the budget for cinematics has been eaten up by the budget for advertisements. You know that they fired the in-house studio because they saw that they could make more money off of making advertisements to sell their skin packs than they ever could making these animations. The animations were what made Overwatch 1 Overwatch. The animations were what revitalized Overwatch for Overwatch 2. This is a terribly dumb idea that will shoot them in the foot, and unless there's some sort of like big secret, like they're actually making an Arcane style show, which I don't think they are, I think this will go down as one of the turning points where Overwatch kind of died. Because I remember when Overwatch 2 came out, I showed my roommate in college all of the Overwatch cinematics, and it got him, a League of Legends player who had never played a first-person shooter before, to install and play Overwatch. Just from the cinematics. You know what isn't gonna get someone to do that? Transformers collab, a Porsche collab, K-pop skins. Sure, they might come in to buy the skins to support their favorite brands or try it out. That's not how you make fans of the game long term. I've rewatched most of these cinematics more times today than I have in my entire life if they came after 0 hour, just by the act of editing this video. I'm a huge Overwatch fan. I have the entirety of the Overwatch Lego collection, including the delisted Titan set, in my apartment now. These cinematics were what got me so invested in this game and what kept me invested long after I thought I had given up. And now that I've hit a point where I do genuinely feel like I've given up on the franchise, the least I could expect is for some high quality cinematics to make me at least consider coming back. And they can't even do that. They're plagiarizing their own works to make a cinematic that they hope has 10% of the care that they used to. The few cinematics that they do still put out are just the same song and dance of, oh, well, maybe this new character with sad backstory will join Overwatch. And even the emotional gut punches of these, they don't nearly work as well as they did in Overwatch 1. Hell, I don't even think I've ever heard anyone quote any of the cinematics after 0 Hour.
I'm gonna kick every one of you in the face.
No one cares anymore. Overwatch is this bleeding husk that is slowly losing what little semblance it still has of itself. They sold their souls out for greed, battle passes, and Fortnite money. And now they are going to die, not because of any one thing, not because of a crappy cinematic, not because of a bunch of collabs, not because of the cancellation of PvE, not because of poor balance, not because of 5v5, not because of the huge content drought between Overwatch 1 and 2, not because of Double Shield, not because of roll queue, not because of goats, not because Jeff from the Overwatch team left, not because of Activision, not because of Xbox, because of themselves. It's a death by 1,000 tiny cuts. The only matter of it is how long can you support this soulless husk of a game you once loved before you move on to something that actually might be better. I said that I was done making Overwatch content, but seeing this made me so insanely disappointed. It brought me back to 2019 when I was done with Overwatch 1, and I saw that 0 Hour cinematic, and it got me to log back on and play for almost the entire remainder of the content drought. That's the level of power these things have. And that's why it hurts me so much to see something I love fall so far. What happened to you, Overwatch? You used to be cool.
I'm still cool.
Nah, you've changed, man.